Imagine chartering 20 yellow school buses. Like, just picture a whole convoy of them.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of buses.
Right. Filled with over 1,000 people driving hundreds of miles down the East Coast to Foxborough, Massachusetts.
Just to avoid those crazy transport costs, I'm guessing.
Exactly. But here's the thing. They are doing this to watch a team that hasn't played on this specific stage since before a lot of the current players were even born.
Yeah, that's the reality for the Tartan Army right now.
It really is. 28 agonizing years of waiting are finally over. For the first time since 1998, the Scotland national football team is back at the World Cup.
I mean, it's hard to overstate the magnitude of that timeline. You have entire generations of fans who have, only ever known the qualifying heartbreak. They've never actually seen the tournament itself.
And that is exactly why we've custom-tailored today's deep dive, just for you listening. We are taking a massive stack of tactical analyses, historical stats, and the finalized squad list to decode Scotland's true chances in Group C.
We really want to strip away the romance here.
Yeah, we're asking the hard question. Are they just here to enjoy the party, or can this team genuinely make history?
Well, to answer that, we really have to look at the intersection of that fan culture and the actual tactical setup. Because to understand how Scotland plays on the pitch, you have to understand the environment off it.
You're talking about the supporters, the Tartan Army.
Exactly.
The famous plaid army. With their kilts and their singing, they're universally beloved, literally winning awards for their fair play. But I have to wonder, does having a fan base running on decades of pent-up emotion actually help? Like, does it give them a tactical advantage, or does it just add crushing pressure?
Under a different manager, I think it might be suffocating.
Yeah.
But what Steve Clark has done brilliantly is he's operationalized that emotion.
Oh, so?
He hasn't just told the players to play for the fans. He's engineered this intense band of brothers mentality in the squad that perfectly mirrors the supporters' loyalty.
Ah, okay. So the pressure doesn't crush them individually because the weight is distributed evenly across the starting 11.
Precisely. The structural and psychological load is shared.
That makes total sense. And it's not just some nice team-building exercise, right? It's a tactical requirement. If your system needs everyone to run themselves into the ground covering for each other, you need a locker room that buys in.
Yeah, completely. And that brings us to their core identity on the pitch. I mean, they're not going to dominate possession.
Right.
They aren't trying to orchestrate perfectly choreographed 50 pass sequences. They rely on immense structural discipline, aggressive service from out wide, and this highly physical midfield that intentionally creates chaos.
Okay, let's unpack the mechanics of that chaos, starting with what the sources call the engine room, the core three.
Let's do it.
We have to start with the captain, Andy Robertson. He's 32 now, a Liverpool veteran, and even late in his career, his role on the left flank is basically the linchpin of their whole attack.
Oh, he is the primary creative lever. The mechanics of it are actually fascinating. When Robertson pushes high up the left side, he physically forces the defense to stretch horizontally.
Pulling the right back out to the touchline.
Exactly. And by doing that, he creates these widened interior channels.
And that runway is exactly what the midfield needs, which leads directly to the heart of the team, John McGinn.
The Aston Villa vice-captain.
Right. He just had his best season ever for goal contributions. And as a quick aside, I just love his signature goggles celebration.
Oh, yeah, where he makes the glasses with his hands.
Yeah. It's a tribute to his young nephew, Jack, who wears protective eyewear to play. It's such a great detail that reinforces that tight familial culture we just talked about.
It really does.
But tactically, his role is to exploit the exact space Robertson creates, right?
Yes, and his timing is elite. McGinn is a master of keeping the ball under pressure, but his real weapon is the belayed run.
So he waits.
Yeah, while the defenders are watching Robertson out wide, McGinn arrives late into the penalty box, usually completely unmarked. And he's doing this right alongside their talisman, Scott McTominay.
The Napoli star.
Yeah.
Recently crowned the Serie A Player of the Year, which is massive.
It's a huge achievement. He's their main goal threat from the midfield.
I mean, anyone who watched the qualifiers remembers that unbelievable bicycle kick he scored against Denmark.
Oh, a stunning goal.
So you have McGinn and McTominay, these two incredibly physical players just crashing the box. But if you're an opposing manager looking at the tape, doesn't this system look a bit fragile?
How do you mean?
Well, if the entire offense relies on Robertson bombing down the wing to cross it, and you just wait for McGinn and McTominay. Doesn't that make the attack super one-dimensional?
I see what you're saying.
Like, if you're a top-tier
Yeah.
team, don't you just stick two giant center backs in the box, block the cross, and shut down the entire Scottish offense?
On a tactical whiteboard, yes, that's the obvious counter. But, football isn't played on a static board. This is where we have to talk about second balls.
Second balls. So they're playing for the rebound.
They're playing for the disruption. Scotland doesn't always need Robertson's cross to find McTominay's head perfectly. In fact, they often expect that it won't.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. When you have a physical striker like Che Adams occupying the center backs and then McGinn and McTominay sprinting in, it forces the defense to react in a panic.
So the defender heads the ball away, but not cleanly.
Exactly. It falls to the edge of the penalty area. That loose ball is the second ball. Scotland's entire midfield is drilled to anticipate and win that specific loose ball.
They just overwhelm you with sheer physical presence.
Right, in that secondary phase of the attack.
It's essentially intentional disorder. They don't mind if the initial pass fails, because they're set up to win the ensuing street fight for the loose ball.
That is a perfect way to put it. It's a highly efficient, high-octane engine.
Yeah.
But the problem with engines that run this hot is that when a part breaks, the whole machine threatens to seize up.
Right. Which brings us to the Achilles heel. Let's look at the defensive end first, because the goalkeeping situation in the sources is genuinely alarming.
It is a massive vulnerability.
Steve Clark's primary options, Angus Gunn and Liam Kelly, have basically been benched at the club level. They've barely played any competitive minutes.
They're coming into a World Cup incredibly rusty.
Which leaves the door wide open for Craig Gordon.
Craig Gordon, who is 43 years old.
43. If he plays, he becomes the second oldest player in World Cup history. It's an amazing human interest story, but tactically. If you're listening to this and looking at a 43-year-old keeper or two backups with zero match sharpness, you have to wonder how that doesn't compromise the defense.
It absolutely does. Because a confident, sharp goalkeeper acts as a sweeper. They come off their line to claim crosses or clear through balls.
But if they're hesitant?
If your keeper is rusty or limited by age, they naturally stay glued to their goal line. It changes the geometry of the entire back line.
It's like driving a car with broken shocks. If the suspension isn't absorbing the bumps, every single impact transfers directly to the chassis.
That's exactly it. If the goalkeeper isn't absorbing the danger behind the defense, the defenders have to compensate. Center backs like Grant Hanley or Kieran Tierney are forced to drop 5 or 10 yards deeper.
Just to protect themselves from a ball over the top.
Right. But when the defensive line drops, it stretches the team vertically. Suddenly, this massive gap opens up between the defense and the midfield.
And if that gap opens up, the opposing playmakers have all the space in the world, which puts immense pressure on Scotland's midfield to cover ground.
Yes.
And that makes the news out of the Curaçao match so devastating.
The Billy Gilmore injury.
Yeah. They play a warm-up friendly against Curaçao. They win 4-1. Everything is clicking. But they lose Billy Gilmore, their crucial Napoli midfielder, to a Grade Saka right knee sprain.
He's officially out of the tournament.
And reading through the tactical briefs, this isn't just losing a good player. This is losing the transmission of the engine.
Without a doubt. Gilmore is what analysts call a tempo setter. He's the guy who's comfortable taking the ball from the defense with two guys breathing down his neck.
He absorbs the pressure.
Exactly. He stays calm and finds the precise forward pass to transition the team from defense to attack.
So without him, who takes the ball out of the back? If Gilmore isn't there, McTominay or McGinn has to drop way deeper just to get the ball.
Which means your main goal threats are 70 yards away from the opponent's goal. It paralyzes the attack. The burden on the remaining midfielders increases exponentially.
So you have a broken suspension in goal, and you just lost your transmission in the midfield. What does Steve Clark do? I mean, he can't just invent a new veteran tempo setter.
He can't, which forces him into this fascinating high-stakes pivot. He's decided to inject raw, untested youth into what has historically been a very veteran squad.
The youth call-ups. This is the wild card of the tournament for Scotland. Gilmore goes down, and Clark brings in Tyler Fletcher. He's 19 years old, an academy prospect from Manchester United.
Son of Scotland legend Darren Fletcher, by the way.
Right. But the crazy detail is that Tyler Fletcher has actually played more senior minutes for the Scottish national team than he has for his own club in Manchester.
Which tells you everything about how Steve Clark views his talent. Managers don't just hand out World Cup roster spots
Oh,
as favors.
definitely not.
Clark gave Fletcher 45 minutes in that Curacao friendly, and he clearly saw an elite young controller who didn't shrink under the lights.
And he's not the only teenager tasked with saving the campaign. You have Finley Curtis, also 19, just turned pro, and spent the back half of the season on loan at Kilmarnock.
And he was so clutch there.
Unbelievable clutch. Scored 4 goals in his last 5 games to literally save the club from relegation.
Then you add Ben Gannon-Doak, a 20-year-old, £20 million signing for Bournemouth. He's a rapid right winger.
Bringing that electrifying 1v1 dribbling pace.
Yeah, pace and width that perfectly balances Robertson on the opposite side.
But I have to ask, if you are leaning on a 19-year-old relegation hero and an academy kid with barely any club minutes to fix your midfield crisis at a World Cup, is that just a desperate panic move?
It's born of necessity, certainly, but it also functions as a brilliant psychological weapon.
Really? How so?
Well, think about modern international football. Scouting is incredibly advanced. If you're the Moroccan coaching staff, you've spent 3 years analyzing every tendency of John McGinn. You know his passing networks.
But you have absolutely zero data on how 19-year-old Finley Curtis operates in a high-pressure tournament.
Exactly. You can't build an algorithm for a kid who's just riding the pure adrenaline of a relegation-saving hot streak. Introducing these teenagers injects sheer unpredictability into a Scottish team that opponents previously thought was rigid and easily scoutable.
A little bit of calculated chaos to keep them guessing, which they are desperately going to need because it is time to look at the opponents in Group C.
And this is where the historical parallels get really crazy.
The symmetry is staggering.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned, Scotland's last World Cup was in 1998. The 2 giants in their group that year, Brazil and Morocco. Now, fast forward 28 years to 2026. Welcome to Group C. Your opponents are Brazil and Morocco.
The universe has literally queued up the exact same titans.
The ghost of 98 is staring them right in the face.
It's a phenomenal narrative,
Yeah.
but tactically, the challenges are entirely modern. And, you can't even look at Brazil until you survive Game 1.
Fair point. Match 1 is against Haiti, playing right there in Foxborough in front of all those traveling fans. Haiti is ranked 83rd in the world. They haven't qualified since 1974.
On paper, everyone writes this down as a guaranteed 3 points for Scotland.
But how do the mechanics actually play out?
It's a dangerous trap. Under their coach, Sébastien Mignet, Haiti knows they're the underdogs. They'll likely deploy a compact 4-4-2 low block.
They aren't going to fight for possession.
Not at all. They're going to absorb pressure and look to hit long, direct passes on the counterattack to their Premier League striker, Wilson Isidore.
Let's break down that low block against Scotland's attack. Because a low block means Haiti is parking 8 or 9 bodies directly inside their own penalty box.
Right.
And if Scotland's entire strategy is Robertson crossing the ball and McTominay crashing the box, Haiti is physically removing the space required to do that.
Exactly. You can't make a late surging run into a box that's already packed with 9 defenders. There's no runway.
So a low block neutralizes the physical chaos.
Yes, and it forces the attacking team to play intricate, lock-picking passes through tight spaces.
Which is the exact skill set they just lost when Billy Gilmore sprained his knee.
That is why this match is so perilous. Scotland has to play a style they aren't built for, missing their best playmaker while terrified of Wilson Isidore sneaking behind a rusty goalkeeper on the counter.
And if they drop points here, advancing becomes nearly impossible. Because match 2 is against Morocco, the 2022 semifinalists.
Currently riding a 26-game unbeaten streak.
Featuring world-class talent like Achraf Hakimi at right back and Brahim Diaz in the midfield.
Morocco is tactically mature, they're blindingly fast, and completely fearless. The defining battle of this match is going to be on the flank.
Hakimi versus Robertson.
Exactly. You have Scotland's primary weapon, Robertson, on the left. Directly across from him is Hakimi, arguably the best attacking right back in the world.
That is a heavyweight fight, because if Hakimi is constantly attacking, Robertson has to defend deep in his own half.
And if Robertson is pinned back, Scotland loses their width. The whole offensive engine stalls.
Add in Morocco's pace against Scotland's hesitant keepers, and it could be a very long afternoon.
Which brings us to the final boss of the group, Match 3, Brazil.
The 5-time champions, boasting superstars like Vinicius Jr. and Endrick. But the sources show a very different reality than the dominant Brazil we're used to.
They've been struggling?
Massively. They finished 5th in the CONMEBOL standings. They actually only avoided a playoff scenario because the tournament field expanded.
Yeah, they've been churning through different formations under Carlo Ancelotti, trying to find an identity.
So if you're Scotland, do you look at a team Constantly changing formations as a wounded animal ripe for an upset?
Mm.
Or does a chaotic qualifying run just mean Brazil is going to arrive angry and hyper-focused?
It's a question of tournament psychology. Historically, when a powerhouse like Brazil struggles in qualifying, they use the group stages to find their rhythm.
They build momentum.
Exactly. But their current weakness is in the fullback positions, which is precisely where Scotland wants to back.
So there's a mechanical vulnerability there for Robertson and Gannon-Doak to exploit.
There is. However, you can never discount the individual brilliance of a player like Vinicius Jr. He can break a game open regardless of the tactical structure.
Sure.
Plus, Carlo Ancelotti is a master at knockout football. If Brazil clicks into gear early, they'll be heavy favorites. But if they're still experimenting with their shape by match 3, Scotland's rigid physical grit could absolutely frustrate an out-of-sync Brazilian squad into making fatal mistakes.
It's the ultimate clash of styles. The grit and intentional chaos of Scotland versus the individual flair and tactical uncertainty of Brazil.
And it all comes down to execution under the brightest lights imaginable.
It really does. So let's pull all these threads together for you tuning in. Scotland's 2026 World Cup campaign is this beautiful, highly volatile ecosystem. You have the unmatched dedication of the Tartan Army setting the foundation. You have a squad built on an elite physical midfield and a deep sense of brotherhood.
But they're carrying terrifying vulnerabilities in goal, and they've lost their primary tempo setter.
Right, Billy Gilmore. And to fix it, they're throwing wild cards into the deck. Untested teenagers like Tyler Fletcher and Finley Curtis, just hoping to weaponize unpredictability.
It's a fragile system, definitely. But it has an incredibly high ceiling if they can leverage their physicality, dictate the chaos, and survive that opening trap against Haiti.
And it all culminates in this epic Group C gauntlet. Which brings us back to that lingering, almost supernatural detail.
The ghosts of '98.
The universe has perfectly aligned the stars to recreate the exact scenario from 28 years ago. Back in 1998, Scotland faced Brazil and Morocco, suffered agonizing defeats, and crashed out.
And now they're back.
Exactly 28 years later, the Tartan Army boards those school buses to face the exact same ghosts. So we leave you with this to mull over. Is history simply a closed loop, doomed to repeat itself in another heartbreak? Or is this the ultimate poetic stage for Scotland to finally break their curse and reach the knockout stages for the very first time?
That is the beauty of this tournament. All the tactical analysis in the world eventually gives way to the 90 minutes on the pitch. We just have to watch and find out.
We really do. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep an eye on those loose second balls. Enjoy the matches, and we'll catch you next time.